Hi, my name is Rich Mizak, and welcome to my channel. Before we start, please click the like button below. That does something to the algorithm that allows to draw more people to this channel. Really appreciate that. Also, my website, richmizak.com, is available in the show notes. If you want to book a session with me, that's where one would go. But this video is basically talking about my story and how I came about. And what one will learn and what happens is very typical, especially for men, in the second half of their life. They start to say, hey, I've got the car, I've got the boat, this, the whatever. And they say, I think there's more to life. What is it? And they sort of have what one would call a spiritual awakening. The problem is when one gets into that, what does that mean? It's very ambiguous. It's very vague. It's very woo-woo sounding. And I was looking for something that resonated with me that was practical that I could use in my life. And so I started to, go down several different weasel holes, as one would say, to try to find something that would resonate with me and be helpful. And I did a bit of work with law of attraction, manifesting, etc. And I really found, things that resonated with me, but I was always searching for the things. How is this practical? How can I use this in my life? And I was taking a manifesting class, and the person who taught the class's fiance would channel. So in channeling, she connects to a higher being, a spirit, and then would speak. And so he would ask her questions, she would answer the questions. And myself and the other members of the class all found that her messages were far more pronounced, and it almost like they hit every single one of us perfectly for what we needed. And we're like, well, how can you do that? And I learned that one could learn to do that. I unfortunately mistakenly thought it would be about a 2-week exercise. To do this, I read several books on the topic. Ultimately, it's been a several-year journey, but it has been extremely rewarding and encouraging and a lot of fun. My first class I took was with a woman called Mavis Patilla, who's since passed, and she was kind of the foremost expert on evidential mediumship, in that she felt that by giving someone pure evidence that the medium could never have known otherwise about somebody who has passed, that would be very helpful to their life and give them closure for certain things. And I found that class very interesting, but it never really hit other than being a good exercise to do. But really resonated with me was channeling. And so I went to the next stage, and I started to study with several of the top teachers in the world at a school called Arthur Findlay College in the UK. And I probably take 2 classes a year, week-long classes, in addition to weekly online practice sessions and training sessions and other things, to talk a little bit about, to get that connection with spirit, to help myself and to help other people. And I found this to be hugely helpful to you and to other people out there who are saying, like, there's got to be more to life than this. I know there's more. I want to open, but where do you start? Like, what do you do? Like, how can I get information that's not like too woo-woo and fluffy and actually helps my life? And I think that's kind of the most important thing for all of us. I'm a business professional by chance. I consult with companies, like leading companies around the world. And I did not want woo-woo fluffy stuff. I wanted things that one could use in their day-to-day life, that I could use in my day-to-day life. And what I've been doing is I've been working with people one-on-one. I typically work with 30-minute sessions. And typically it's 2 or 3 portions to the session. Initially, I'll connect to the aura that person has. I'll see what I pick up. We'll have a bit of a discussion there. I'll check in. We'll see if it resonates with you. Second, I will drop into what's called a trance state, and I will connect with spirit and be able to communicate what comes through from spirit to you. This would be a custom message just for you. I don't choose the words. It's a very unique feeling in that I've sort of stepped out of the way. I just communicate the words. And I look back and say, I never would have selected that word or that description. And it often pulls things from like recesses, things I haven't studied in years. So for example, I was in Somerset, England at this private country house. There were only 10 people invited from around the world to study with like some of the top teachers in the world on this topic. And I was kind of deep in a trance state, and I was brought to a memory of a book called The Artist's Way by the writer Julie Cameron. And I had read this book 30 years ago. I'd forgotten the name of the book. I definitely forgot the name of the writer. And at the end, after I came out, and it was part of the message to this individual was that they should reconsider doing something called the artist morning pages, where you write 3 pages a day every morning until you kind of work through a certain issue. And when I came out, I'm like, hey, I don't know where that book came from. I don't know if you've ever heard of the book. It was written back, I believe, in the 1990s. But it's been around for a long time, and it's a very popular book. They've sold millions of copies. And she smiled and she said, I used to teach that class. I know exactly what you're talking about. It was perfectly relevant to her. And she's like, it's exactly what I need. She says, I don't know why it was right in front of me. I didn't even think of it. Now, why did Spirit pick a book of something that I hadn't read in years? They knew it was perfectly appropriate for her, and it was the right advice for her. She started to do the pages the next morning, and the issue she was working through, she was able to cover. And that's kind of the sort of thing that's a little anecdotal, but it gives you an idea of how things work. So we'd love to work with you. Please click either the show notes, my website, richmizak.com, to book a one-on-one session with me. If you have any questions, or please leave them in the comments, and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.